Holy shit. Oh my gosh. I just seen a really rare thing. Um, I've seen a fourth movie that's pretty damn good. Talking about Toy Story 4, by the way. I walked in like everybody else, scared as shit. Toy Story 1, 2, and 3 are probably three of the greatest movies I've seen in my 24 years of living. The first Toy Story is my favorite film of all time. So I walked into this thinking they're gonna fuck it up. The trailers were shit. Um, I couldn't really get a beat on what the plot was, and from what I could see, it seemed like they were just retreading everything else that had been done before. But surprisingly, this movie's really fucking good. Like this movie, and it's so weird because this movie it's much more profound than the other three, which I know sounds kind of weird because especially the third one is really profound. Um, and each Toy Story movie kind of hits on a beat, you know. And there's some familiar stuff in this too. There's the, uh, uh, but for the most part, this movie's hilarious. It's heartfelt. It just it's. I don't want to compare it to comfort food because I think that would be a disgrace to it, or that wouldn't accurately um, summarize it. But it's just like a warm blanket. You know what I mean? Like this movie's just so it's just so full of life, and it asks deep questions, and it makes you think about who you are and what your goal and purpose is. And this is some deep shit for a movie about fucking toys. Like this is some deep shit they talking about here. Um, but it's great. It's so great. So basically, what this movie is about is if you've seen the third one, which judging by the box office and the amount of people anxious about this one. Everybody's seen the third one. So you know that Andy, grown up, left to college, gave his toys to this girl named Bonnie. Bonnie's been playing with the toys, but Bonnie. So you know how uh, how and how Andy's favorite toy was Woody. Bonnie could kind of give two shits about Woody. Like Bonnie doesn't really care that much about Woody, and and Woody's kind of like, well, what do I do now? You know what I mean? Like the kid that the kid that my kid Andy gave me to doesn't really want to play with me anymore, and he's just sitting in a closet. So he wants to he wants to gain that purpose again. You know, Woody's always been about the purpose is to be with the kid. Like that's my purpose. I'm a toy. I'm supposed to be played with. That's what my purpose is. And when I'm not played with, I don't know what to fucking do. So in order to regain purpose and to be back into Bonnie's life, he sneaks into her backpack when she's about to start kindergarten. And at kindergarten, some stuff happens, and Woody inadvertently um, is kind of responsible for the creation of this new toy named Forky. Forky is made from a spork, and Forky's great. Like Forky kind of steals the movie. I mean, I was reading reviews about how good Forky was, and I'm like, there's no way that there's no way that that toy's good. Forky is that good. Like he's that funny. He's like one of the funniest aspects of the movie, and he's the one where all this sort of deep philosophical stuff comes through because he's a fork or a spork, and he's brought to life. And you're like, how the fuck does that even happen? And like even all the toys are like, how the fuck is this guy alive? It's really funny. And so Forky wants to be in the trash because he's a spork, and to him he's outlived his purpose, which is to which is for soups and salads and maybe chili, as he says. And so he wants to go into trash, and Woody's basically telling him, no, your toy. Your purpose is to bring joy to Bonnie. Long story short, they go on this road trip. Forky says, "Fuck this! I'm going to the trash." Escapes, and Woody goes on a journey to get him back, which leads them to a carnival where they end up meeting Bo Peep, who was missing from the third movie, and you find out why at the beginning of this movie. And that's when the movie starts. And it's great to see Bo Peep again because she wasn't really a character in the first two movies, which is probably why they got rid of her because that first movie she's barely in it, and then the second movie I don't even remember her being in it. But here she has a lot to do. She has a lot of agency. She's one of the best characters. The old characters from the first three movies kind of take a back seat except for Buzz. And Buzz has his own quest going too, which is pretty cool. He's sort of wrestling with the fact that that some of the things that Woody can't do, he can do, and he's trying to come into his own in that regard. Um, and there's two toys named Ducky and Bunny who I thought were going to be annoying as hell from the trailers and are actually the funniest part of the movie. Yeah, like this movie's great. It's it's easily the funniest Toy Story film. I kept reading that with reviews and going whatever, and it is the funniest of them. And like I said, it's philosophically deep and shit. My only gripe is that it feels too familiar. Like there's a lot of stuff that happens in this movie. There's a lot of beats that it hits that are just like the same beats that every Toy Story kind of hits, and you can see that coming. And I will say that the emotional ending of this movie, I knew before I had seen the trailer. I kind of knew what was going to happen at the end of the other films, like just piecing together the bits and pieces of all the trailers. I sort of guessed what was going to happen. Um, and the ending, it doesn't hit as emotionally hard as the ending of Toy Story 3. I kept waiting for it to hit that, throughout the whole movie. I'm like, yeah, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, and I'm gonna be crying like a bitch. Um, and when it happened, it happened kind of fast. That's another gripe is that the ending of this film feels a bit rushed. It feels like they just kind of had to get this through. But those are minor quibbles. Uh, the movie's great. It's easily, I mean, outside of Booksmart, it's probably the best movie I've seen this year, and this has been a really bad year for movies, in my opinion. There's like maybe two or three films this year that I've seen that I have actually enjoyed and want to go back seeing. Um, the other one being Booksmart, which you all should have seen because it was great. And if there was another movie outside of these two, then I don't know what it is. But go see Toy Story. I would recommend. I would recommend showing your if you're parents and you have kids and they haven't seen any of the Toy Story movies. I would recommend showing your kids the first three. Or you could just bring them in cold. I don't think they'll miss it a whole lot. It won't be as emotional as it would be for people who've seen all three. But yeah, go see it. I mean, it just reminds you of what good movies can do, And in my opinion, we've had a lot of films that are just surface stuff. But this one has some meat on its bones, and it's got a lot of interesting questions that you can talk about with your family and friends after the movie. So it's definitely a winner. Please go see it.